So I'm about to start working on, well, a mask project, but this is the foam head I'm going to be using. I just stole it from another mask that doesn't really need a foam head anymore, and this is the last of, like, when I first started buying a lot of masks, I kind of just put corpse paint. Really, I just needed to black out the eyes so you couldn't see, you know, the white eyes of the matte or the foam head beneath it, and I just added all this like weird corpse paint to them. So this is, I think, the last one that I'm going to cover up finally. So I don't know. An end of an era of me just having random foam heads under masks without coverings on them, I guess. I don't know, it felt worth documenting. Yeah, I apologize for the lighting, because the lighting in here sucks right now, but... So yeah, I'm going to be working on this Papa 2 mask. I had a friend ask me to do a couple things with his, and I'm going to just try it on my own copy. I'm actually going to do more than he asked me to do, just to see if I could try a couple additional bits here. I mean, I know this Trick or Treat Studios one isn't like super accurate, I don't think, to the actual silicone mask worn by Purge, or however you pronounce his last name. One of the things I know with his is that the ears are cut out, so his actual ears stick out of the mask. So I'm going to replicate that, and then I'm going to replicate ears being inside the mask. So I'm going to cut basically around this loop here to take these ears off. And I actually bought a separate mask that was on clearance at Party City that has ears. And I'm going to put those ears backing up against this so that it looks like there's somebody wearing them underneath the mask. Actually, that didn't come out too shabby. I just put the full mask on underneath this, so it's not even like how it's really gonna sit, because basically I'm just gonna cut these ears off the mask and attach them inside here just so we have the depth. And this whole mask is getting repainted, so you could see like the latex you could see in there is gonna disappear when I'm done. And also this extra stuff in the eyes is just the mask under. But yeah, so there he is with his ear holes, but with display ears. And this is the thing I have on under the mask. This is from Ghoulish Productions, I think it said. It's the Hairless Friendly Clown mask. Like I said, I only got it because it was super cheap at Party City and it had ears. So really most of the rest of this we're not going to care about at all. I'm probably going to just chop it off here and attach these separately, but just for the record of what I used. So besides that mask with the ears, these are the other two bits I'm using to make this display. This is the Trick or Treat Studios Vacuum Form Myers mask. Really, I'm just using it for the eyes, so the rest of it can go away. But I just wanted that kind of shape and, you know, realistic, somewhat human form there. And then the eyes themselves are these cheapo ones from Spirit Halloween. Full disclosure, I'm filming this a little bit after what you've seen already, and I'm still struggling to get these so I could actually replace the color of the iris in them. I have some ideas, but nothing's panned out super well just yet, so these may change up as I go. Okay, so this is just a test mock-up, but holy shit, it kind of actually works. I want to add eyelids. Obviously, there's gaps around the eyes in here too that need to be filled in with some like liquid latex or something, and one eye needs to be repainted to be the blind eye. But dude, this might actually really work. There's potential here, so I'm gonna obviously paint this mask underneath black so that it looks like the, you know, makeup that we would actually wear around his eyes. Sculpt in like the rest of the eye here, put an eyelid on there, add some eyelashes. Damn, that's it's giving this thing a feel for sure. And then obviously the eyes need to be adjusted so they sit properly in his sockets. He looks a little cross-eyed, or whatever the reverse of cross-eyed is right now. But I think there's promise here. I really do. Like, I think the Myers mask works well because it already has those wrinkles and furrows and stuff in it, so it doesn't look like just like a generic blank mask. I was actually looking at live casts, but I think this will do the job for a lot less money. So I honestly thought this project was going to be easier than it has been. So I'm going to actually cut it off for this week here, and I'll come back to it in a future video. I'm working on repainting it still. I didn't even film half that process. I basically took black Plasti Dip and sprayed the whole thing, and then just started using acrylic paints over top of it. I think this side is getting to an okay place, but the opposite side not only is not done, but is not mirroring the first side at all. So I still got a long way to go to get this thing to look right. I also did do a similar paint job on the ears to add like white quote-unquote makeup onto them. Yeah, I'm just still kind of stalling out with getting the eyes to look exactly how I want, but there'll be further updates in future videos. This thing has such a glare on it, I don't even know if it's worth showing off here, but Spirit Halloween's selling these like blueprint poster kind of things that are for their various animatronics from over the years. I think there's 3 different ones. And I grabbed this one because it was Cerberus, and my robot team is Team Cerberus, and I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have this. I remember really wanting the animatronic when it was out, but it was way out of my price range at the time. So, $5 for a poster of it I could throw around my my workshop area. It'd be kind of cool. So stopped at a couple other spirits over the last couple days that opened up and grabbed a couple more masks. Found this one. I think this was one of the ones that was already at an existing spirit. And then this one was at, I think, one of the new ones that opened. I was wanting to kind of pick up the rest of these Purge masks, at least from the movies. I'm not so sure about the TV show ones. But I don't know, for some reason I just never got around to getting them in previous years. So kind of starting to hit the last ones that I need this year. I've always been hesitant on this thing because the paint on the hair just looks like shit. But I think if I go in with some white, I can clean that up a little bit, make it look a little better. This one's not too bad. These are the spirit ones, like I said, so they have the holes in the top. But the way I have them displayed, you're never going to see them, so I'm not too worried. And then, in a saga that I didn't think was going to be a saga, I got poker chips for the Gremlin display. Couldn't find the ones that I thought I had here. Was going to get some at Walmart that had the white markings around the edges. Looked at the movie stills, found out they didn't have those in the movie from what I could see. So I bought these at Party City, then found out that they had these kind of solid color ones at Walmart for much cheaper, but it's wasn't worth the effort to go and exchange them. And then I found the ones that I had previously, but they do have the white markings on them. So yeah, I'm just going to use these. It was way more effort than I ever thought it was going to be into putting poker chips on a table, but I got them now. Got the poker chips added in here in the Gremlin display. Wow, there's really not enough light to show that. Hold on. There we go. Bit overexposed, but now you can at least see them. Just made a little pile there. Gonna add some stragglers around. Obviously the cards are under it. And then we got his beer like I had before. And I did get this cigarette. I think it was from Forum Novelties. I got it off Amazon though. But it looks realistic enough sticking out of his mouth. I think that works pretty well. I'm going to call that Gremlin display pretty much set. I'm happy with how that turned out. However, looking at the shelf and seeing that it has that little cubby that I have the extra poker chips and the hot glue gun down there, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if maybe I should put a little gizmo hiding down there or something. It could be kind of funny. And yes, I did buy the stupid Turbo Man thing. I honestly immediately had buyer's remorse after picking it up, so I may be returning it or selling it to a friend. But I bought it because I saw it. So I went and saw the Candyman reboot. Is that the right term for these anymore? A re-sequel? I don't know. But I saw that the other day. And I gotta say, I was really impressed with it. I thought they did a really good job on it. About as good as Halloween 2018, where a lot of it I really liked, and there were little bits of it that were oh, that was kind of stupid. But, overall, I think I really enjoyed what I saw. I saw online there was a lot of, hate for it, and I don't know, a lot of it seemed to stem from, I think people were surprised that a Candyman movie was about race, but have Candyman movies ever not been about race? I was kind of confused by that whole thing. But I think it was interesting. I just rewatched the original to prepare for this, so I don't know how it would be going into this blind. If you'd never seen the original, or if it had been years and years since you saw the original. But I think they did a good job in a really interesting way of taking that original movie and making it kind of a myth or a legend in this world, which works really well because the whole idea of the original Candyman was building off of urban legends. So for Candyman itself, the movie, the events of the movie, the events with Helen and everything, to become part of that mythos that, people don't really know for sure if it happened kind of thing. I think that really works for this movie and adds to the mythology and the whole thing. I saw there were some deleted scenes or some excised subplots that had more to do with Helen. I think she was in it just enough. They had some audio clips. I think one might have been a new audio clip, and one was definitely recycled from the original movie. But I think they brought her in just enough to, kind of reference the original, but not to go too far down that rabbit hole. The story is kind of almost entirely self-contained from the original, with the exception of a few couple connecting threads. And I don't know, I knew what I was getting into going into this movie. I kind of knew the twist, I guess, in a way. Or the first twist, if nothing else. There was a bit later on, there was a part that I had the most problem with. It was, I would call it the Dr. Sartain moment of this movie, where I think kind of the machinations behind what's going on just kind of don't make as much sense as I'd like them to. But the end scene of it definitely kind of redeemed itself for that. And I think that might be a spot where a lot of people are having problems, but I thought the ending scene was really cool and really interesting. I don't want to get too deep into it or give spoilers or anything. I'll also say that the way they did some of the kills were really interesting, playing a lot more with the whole Candyman mirror thing than they did in the original or any of the other ones that I can remember. Like, they made the mirror a much more integral part of the character, and I think that actually worked really well. And it gave it kind of a J-horror vibe to me in parts, which I thought was really interesting, and I liked that. I think they actually did a really good job of blending like the ghost story with the slasher movie with everything else. I think it had a nice balance there. I definitely would recommend checking it out. I'm actually gonna probably go try to see it a second time just because I feel like there's a lot of little things that might be easy to miss on a single view. So I want to see if I pick up anything else from watching it a second time. But I'm actually really hoping they will do a sequel or two to this. I jokingly, as soon as the movie ended, was like, yeah, I'd go watch Candyman Kills and Candyman Ends. Hoping that we'll get a little more out of the franchise here and we'll get some other cool stuff because I really want to see where this goes from here. So I completely forgot to film an unboxing on this thing, or an unposter rolling of this thing. But I finally got my stabbed print in from Stephen Luros Holiday. I think that's what his name is. I might be pronouncing that wrong. But I was really excited about this. It's actually, I have a few prints from him. This is my fourth, I think, I've gotten. And this is the first one that's in like a kind of normal poster size. The other ones are like long and skinny. But I'm really excited to get this. It has some really cool kind of like shimmer effects on it. There were a couple different variants that he offered. And this is the one that I decided to go with. And see, it has like the sneak preview, one night only, all that crap on the bottom, which is really cool. And honestly, this kind of led me down a path of wanting to build a life-size ghost face to go in this spot here. Chucky's here right now, so really tiny life size right there. I'm basically planning to use, I don't want to go like super expensive with it, so I think I'm going to use that 25th anniversary robe and mask set, even though I know the robe's not like super accurate to anything, but I think that will be okay for what I want for this. I think this could end up being a really cool display. I also have a couple other bits that I'm ordering for it, so those will be in eventually as well. So starting off my weekly tour of Halloween shops to buy stuff I don't need but I want. So I stopped at Party City here, and this one's kind of been the one in the area. There's like 3 near me, or relatively near me, and this one's kind of had the most stuff so far. So they finally really started getting their like slasher costumes out. And I think it's still a lot of stuff that was from last year, though I did see they had a good chunk of Kills masks out on the rack. But since I got those last Purge masks, I decided I really wanted to kind of like try to clean up at least the movie collection for myself. So I got the Kiss Me mask, and then freaking giant Statue of Liberty mask. So this one was listed at 40 and the other one was listed at 20. They both rang up at 20, so I am not complaining. And they just so happen to have exactly enough cash to pay for the 2 of them on me. I don't carry cash too often, but I actually had cash from a friend paying me back for some other stuff last week, and it just so happened to be the perfect amount that I needed to buy these masks. So that was kind of awesome. So I returned back to Spirit Halloween to pick up some of these trick-or-treat blind bag things. So I picked up 4, so we'll see what I got. I guess as a preview, that's the stuff I can get. So we got the Vampire Kid, which is definitely one of the ones I would want to get if I got any of them. I got the Bunny, which they mark as exclusive on the back. I don't know what that means because they're exclusive to Spirit Halloween to begin with, from my understanding. So I don't know if it's supposed to be a rarer one or not, but it's cool to have. Got Sam's decapitated head, just the burlap mask. I think it's a weird choice that they have this, because they have, you know, Sam like this with the body underneath it, so it's kind of weird they gave just this. And then last but not least, well, how fitting, the full body Sam. It's not a bad little haul. I think 3 of the 4 are cool. This is kind of the most boring to me. I think these 3 are pretty good ones to get. So I may pick up more down the road, but we'll see. So every year before Halloween Horror Nights starts, I go and watch the movies or shows or whatever, the properties that are tied into the event, just so I could be prepared for the different houses or scare zones or whatever. This year, the intellectual properties that they picked are ones that I am, for the most part, very familiar with. I mean, I'm wearing my Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt right now, which I wore to Spirit Halloween today. Not only did I get multiple compliments on it, I also had somebody randomly tell me an Ed Gein joke based on the shirt. Thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, I probably will rewatch Texas Chainsaw Massacre just for the hell of it, but I don't need to rewatch. I know that movie. Same with Beetlejuice. I've seen that movie. What's the line? Over 150 times. It keeps getting funnier every time I see it. I know it's not The Exorcist, but I've probably also seen The Exorcist that amount too. Bride of Frankenstein, I've seen a good amount as well. I've seen the original more, but I also have already been into that house. I know it's been upgraded a little bit this year from what I've heard, but I've seen that house. I don't need to really prepare for that. I even know what I'm going to get entirely. So really that leaves, I think, two main intellectual properties that they're doing that I need to kind of like brush up on. One was Crypt TV, and I've gone and watched a fair amount of Crypt TV episodes, clips, whatever. It's kind of weird the way they do things on there. And I think at this point I'm going to cheat and actually just look up online like what the different elements in the scare house are so I can watch those specific clips, because to be quite honest, what I've watched hasn't super impressed me. Like, I know this is weird because I have a poster, like a big ass poster based on a Crypt TV property, the ice cream thing with Michael Berryman, but that was only because Michael Berryman gave me the poster. So, I mean, you know, Michael Berryman gives you a poster, you hang the poster up. I don't know. But, I don't know, what I've seen hasn't impressed me enough that makes me want to just dive into every bit of content they've ever made, and that way I'll be, like, super prepared. I know I've seen The Look-See, I've seen The Girl in the Forest, or whatever that thing's called. I've seen The Sunny Family Cult. I know there's a couple others that I've watched that are probably going to be represented there as well, but I'm just going to find out what else is in there and watch that, so I'm not just watching everything, because it's not that bad necessarily, their episodes, but they're not good enough to make me love them and want to watch them all and just binge it all. It's just, I don't like it enough to bother. It's also the fact that they're all shorts. Nothing usually ever really gets extrapolated upon, and I'm the kind of person that likes, I guess, lore in movies, if that makes any sense. I want things to be explained, and I know that's a place where horror movies especially fall apart the quickest. Having the backstory for your monster or whatever gets difficult. And it's easier to do something where you just don't tell anybody what the basis of everything is, but it's frustrating to me when it's not there at all. I'd almost rather see a bad attempt at it than just to never do it across multiple different stories. But then that leaves the last one, the House on Haunted, Haunting of Hill House. I think it is The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix show, not the Vincent Price movie. Wish it was a Vincent Price movie. That would be awesome. But that is a show, I watched it when it first came out, the first episode. Didn't even finish the first episode, mostly because I heard there were ghosts. I was told in every scene of the movie there was a hidden ghost. Found out that's not the case apparently, but I was distracted at the time when I first started watching it, so I shut it off, intending to come back when I could really just pay super close attention to it. Watching it this time, I watched the first episode and it ended on such a downer that I just didn't want to go back to the series. Like, I was just not motivated to continue on with it. And then I finally was like, well, I gotta do it. Like, if I want to watch this before Halloween Horror Nights, I need to get on it. So I put it on, I watched the rest of the episodes, finished it today, and I don't know, like, I feel like the show was sold to me with a lie. Because everybody I hear is like, oh, it's a horror show. I even saw some people, granted they're not horror people, they're, you know, I would consider them more of a general audience, but they do videos on like attractions and haunts and stuff, saying it was one of the scariest things they'd ever watched. And to me, as a jaded horror fan, I never felt that in the entire watching of the show. I think it was a very interesting reflection on grief and the grieving process and things like that, examining characters and how events in their lives led to them being screwed up as adults. That on its own is interesting, but to me it was much more of a drama than it was horror. I think the way I described it to a friend was, it was paced like the original cut of Dragon Ball Z, where it was, you know, like 40 minutes of them like powering up, which was just them grieving over something or struggling with something bad in their life, and then like a 20-second jump scare. And I know it's not quite that bad, but that's how I kind of felt with it. So I'm curious how they're going to make this into a haunted house. Obviously, I understand how they could turn this into a haunted house. I mean, the thing is literally a haunted house. I'm making a, you know, Halloween Horror Nights haunted house out of it. Probably not going to be that difficult. There are monsters in it. There are scenes that I could see being things you could build a set around and build a thing about. But to be quite honest, like, having watched the thing, I don't feel like that was the right property, and I feel like it was, oh, well, there's not another season of Stranger Things to do right now, so let's pick something else from Netflix so we can keep that partnership going. I'm almost willing to bet that was the idea here. And I'm not saying it's gonna be a bad house. Obviously, at the time of the recording this, opening weekend of Halloween Horror Nights just ended. There's people that know that answer, and I'm trying to not spoil myself and see just yet until I could see it for myself and make my own opinion. But I'm definitely curious, but after seeing people talk about how they expect it to be the scariest house at the event and all this stuff, after watching it, my expectations are quite a bit more tempered. Really don't know what to expect with it. But that being said, I am still very excited, but I actually find myself being more excited for their original properties this year, mostly because, like I said, 2 of the IP properties that are in houses, I already know what that is, because I didn't realize that the whole Beetlejuice thing was because they needed to do 1 or 2 days or whatever to bring Beetlejuice back this year. So I watched a walkthrough last year. I wouldn't have watched it if I knew that it was going to be back, because I like to not know what I'm going into, when I go to these things. But it does kind of bring the unknown level of the IP houses down for me a bit. Their properties, their own original ideas are the most intriguing, I think, this year. They have like that paranormal investigator thing, which I think is hooked into the lore of everything. They've got that Welcome to Scary, which looks interesting. They've got the Icons Captured, which looks like it's going to be the house to see this year. So yeah, I think this might be the year of the original houses and not so much the IPs. But either way, I am excited to get there. So I could just barely fit it all in the camera frame, but I now have, I think, all the Tots movie-based Purge masks together. And then the Spirit, female, or I think it's female, the smiling mask. And then the 2 from Anarchy and the 4 from Election Year. And I think that's everything, not counting the TV show stuff. And honestly, I don't have room for more than like 1 more mask up on the top of this wall. This is just like a little tiny hallway I have that goes between 3 different rooms here in my place. And yeah, there's really, I can go onto this other wall here, but there's not a lot more space up there to add masks. So I think I'm pretty good with these. So I don't know. I think I'm going to call the collection there unless they put more stuff out from the movies. I did also repaint this Uncle Sam mask. This is one of the reasons I hadn't picked it up in previous years. The hair looked terrible because they basically just like somewhat dry brushed the hair, the white on the hair, and then left like a lot of flesh tone in between it. And looking at like the official product shots, it looks like there was a lot more like just painted solid white and then a wash over top of it. But the white I had didn't have great coverage, so like 1 coat it actually let through a lot of kind of like grays in there. So I think I'm gonna just leave it like that and let it be, and then I could always repaint it later if I want to, but I think that looks good enough as it is. I wasn't originally even going to film an unboxing on this. I was just going to open it and show it off, but how can I not show it off as an unboxing when it's got a little ghost face drawing on the back of it? So this is from Horror Graphics, and pretty simple little piece. It is a stab ticket, basically prop replica, but after getting that big old Ghostface stab poster and the plans of doing a life size, I felt like this was an appropriate piece to add into the collection. So yeah, pick that up. And I don't know if I said it right before, but it is Horror Graphics with an X, Graphix. I found these on Etsy. I don't know if they sell elsewhere, but I picked up, I think, from them some book covers as well, or some book props from the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. And yeah, they do a really nice job, nice glossy photo. Not much else to say, but pretty cool. Today I went ahead and bought my Halloween Horror Nights ticket. That was the last ticket I needed for haunts that I'll be traveling at least a fair distance for. The rest of the stuff will probably be local, I think. Initially I was going to do Halloween Horror Nights in October, but I have just upped the time frame of everything. I can't wait. I'm actually going to go the day this video is being published. So September 15th I will be down there. Going on a Wednesday. I don't know if they've ever had it on a Wednesday this early on in the season before, and I don't think I've ever been on a Wednesday if I can remember right, but I'm hoping it'll lead to like smaller crowds crowds. I did still get Fast Pass, so I know I'll be able to do everything, but you know, if the crowds are smaller, I could do more of everything, and that'll be fun. I just, at this point, just automatically get myself the Fast Pass just in case. But what I've done to myself in this whole thing, basically created half a month of hell for myself. So last thing you'll see in this video is me going down to Orlando for Warlando, which is Judas Priest and Sabaton. So that'll be on Saturday. Then the following Wednesday, I'll be at Halloween Horror Nights. The following Sunday, I'll be at Hallow Scream Orlando. And then on October 1st, I'll be at Hallow Scream Tampa. So I guess there's a little bit of a break. There is one weekend I have free, but I actually have to do some work stuff that weekend, I think. So it's going to be a pretty crazy timetable of doing all these. And I think what's going to end up happening is, instead of me doing these videos bi-weekly or weekly or however I was trying to put it out, I think it's going to end up just being some event videos, and I'll try to space them out in a logical way. That way I'm not cramming like 2 haunts into one video. I'm just going to have them each be their own thing and basically just put them up accordingly. So format's going to change up just a little bit, but I mean, only like 100 people watch these videos anyway, so who cares? I'm just doing what I want to do. Today I'm heading down to Orlando for the Warlando Festival. Unfortunately, I have to work a little bit this morning, so I don't get to get down there at the beginning of the day, so I'm probably only going to see Soulfly, Sabaton, and Judas Priest, but those would be the bands that I'd want to see anyway. I guess like most people who go to concerts regularly, it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to go to one, and yeah, I have to admit I'm a little nervous going, especially because it is Orlando, and you know, virus numbers are kind of high in Orlando right now, but I'm also incredibly excited. Finally got to break the battle jacket out after it's sitting in the closet for a year. I'm ready. I can't wait. I feel like I'm running out of interesting places to film these little insert videos to go with events, but whatever. When I got there, the band on stage, there were 2 stages, but I never heard any noise coming out of that second stage. So I don't know if it had wrapped up early or if it was just the way that everything was laid out that it was hard to hear anything coming from it. It was kind of weird. But the first band I saw was Il Nino, which I knew of, but I hadn't heard anything about them in years, and I really didn't pay much attention to them back when they were like relatively popular. So that wasn't really anything I cared too much about. The next band up was Soulfly, which was a little interesting.
I said, are you ready? Refuse, resist! Fuck it up!
I've never really followed Soulfly in particular, but I mean, I have listened to a fair bit of, you know, early Sepultura. It is, you know, Max from Sepultura. I've seen Sepultura without him like a billion times, it feels like, but this is the first time I've actually seen him perform live. They did play Refuse, Resist, which is like, oh cool, it's a song I actually know. I didn't know that the dude from Fear Factory was also in that band, so it was like 2 people that I recognize from other things in a band together.
Shut the fuck up!
Next up was Sabaton, and I got pretty spoiled in previous shows to see them headlining. Last time I saw them, they even had their tank drum riser. And this time they had a much more stripped down stage set because they only had a limited amount of time to play. relatively short set list, so they did have, you know, a decent thing. Also, the first time in a long time I've heard them play Swedish Pagans without Joachim, like, pretending he doesn't want to play the song, so that was interesting. Wow, they're willingly playing Swedish Pagans. This is a very big departure from almost every other show I've seen. I think the only other show I've seen where he didn't do the "I don't want to play it" joke was the very first tour I saw them on, where they opened for Amon Amarth, and it was like, oh yeah, this is the most appropriate song we could play on this tour. But that was still fun as always. And then Priest came on. This is actually their 50th anniversary tour that they're doing, though I think it was supposed to happen last year, so I think it's probably technically 51 years or something for them. But, you know, it was pretty much everything you'd want to see in a Judas Priest show if you didn't care about seeing KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. But I mean, it was really good. It was just, you know, obviously, definitely some lineup changes have happened in that band. And there's a lot of controversy and bad blood around some of that as well. But it was really good. I mean, Halford's voice sounds pretty damn impressive considering his age. He definitely couldn't hold some of the longer screams or anything anymore. I don't know if he just can't hit those notes anymore, or if it's just, you know, he's not gonna last the whole tour if he does hit those notes consistently. So it was a little disappointing in some bits where he would either try to feed it out to the crowd or just kind of do an abbreviated scream or something. But for the most part, it sounded really good. The audio was amazingly crisp. I was surprised, especially for an outdoor like amphitheater setting, the audio sounded fantastic. So that was a plus.
Judas Priest has been making heavy fucking metal for 50 years! Wow, what a trip, what a trip. We simply couldn't have made it this far at all without you beautiful metal maniacs. Thank you so much for giving us this life in heavy metal. Man, you make it all so real for us. So real that when we made our first ever record all those years ago, who knew it would take us this far? Yeah, when it all began, rock and roll.
still COVID world out there, and Orlando is definitely a hot spot. It was great to be back at a live show, but it was also a little intimidating in a weird way. It felt a little weird. I definitely stayed out of the massive crowd up at the front. They kind of had like a concrete slab out in front of the stage. I kind of stayed on like the outskirts of that, and then there's a big grassy field and a hill behind the stage, or going further back up. So for a while I was kind of like down in the front with my mask on watching, and then when I kind of got tired of doing that, I ended up retreating back up the hill and basically found a good amount of space where I could kind of be away from people and felt, you know, just fine taking my mask off.
Hellbent for leather.